You are listening to The Tatiana Show. This show may contain adult content, language, and humor and is intended for mature audiences. If that's not you, please stop listening. Nothing you hear on The Tatiana Show is intended as financial advice, legal advice, or really anything other than entertainment. Take everything you hear with a grain of salt. Oh, and if you're listening to us on an affiliate network, the ideas and views expressed on this show are not necessarily those of the network that you're listening on or of any sponsors or any affiliate products you may hear about on this show. Now that that's squared away, let's start the show. Hey there, it's time for the show, The Tatiana Show, where you make friends and talk life and crypto. What's the point of all this technology without a little love in our lives? Our hosts, Tatiana Moroz, Dr. Stephanie Murphy, and Lauren Kasovitz, have come together to bring you Proof of Love. Go to proofoflovecast.com. Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Tatiana Show. Very beautiful, sunny Tuesday morning here in New Jersey, and I'm very happy to be joined with not one, but two of my awesomest friends in the crypto space. Josh, how's it going, bud?
Hey, how you going, Tatiana? I'm fresh back off a plane from beautiful Palma de Mallorca.
Oh my gosh, I love Mallorca. It is so fabulous there. Tell me about it. You went to a Christian's event, right?
Yeah. Christian and Sebastian put on a really nice event. It was a smaller event because it's the first one, but it was really, really fun and really cool. Had great experience, great networking, really cool people, no ICO shills and sort of, stuff like that. So, and not one of these
speaker roster.
Yeah, it was a really great speaker roster. It wasn't like a porno conference, Some of these crypto conferences just got all these it's just very downgraded kind of style, very sort of, I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of some of the conferences that just have, I'm a hot-blooded male like everyone else, but I find it can be a bit kitsch if there's just all these half-nude walking around women. It's nice to go to a conference where there's serious talks and serious things happening and interesting people talking about free cities and moving forward in, concepts of philosophy and art and all sorts of great conversations that were had.
Awesome. So were you talking about Voltoro? You guys have some big announcements coming up. Are you going to start talking about them soon or no? What's going on?
Yeah, we got a heap of big announcements, but we've got to choose the right time.
All right. Well, I want to break these. Yeah, I want breaking news. I want to announce your big announcements when they're ready. I don't know.
All right.
Well, I have some clues. Cool. So I wanted to get started on the show, but I would be a fool to not mention our wonderful sponsor. I'm always excited to get a new sponsor, and Token Talks, which is a podcast, was kind enough to support the show. And I've been listening to some of their content. It's wing.vc/podcast. And it's an interesting, unique perspective. I suggest you guys, check it out. You can listen and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and go to wing.vc/podcast. If you like consuming your content, that's a fun way to do it and learn about crypto at the same time. So guess who we have on today? Surprise, surprise. I know you can't imagine who it is. No, we've got Emily Coleman on today from Shapeshift. Yay!
Hello. Josh, did you know I was going to be on?
Yeah.
That was my lame joke.
It is always a pleasure to see Emily. Last time I saw you, you were in Berlin, and before.
Oh no, it was LeBitConf, right?
Oh, LeBitConf, yeah, of course, LeBitConf. My God,
yeah,
one of the best.
I know it's hard to keep up sometimes.
I love LeBitConf. I'm so sorry I missed you guys there this year.
Me too.
Crypto winter.
I know. We're sad to not have you. I know. We'll make it through.
Yeah, I think
hopefully it'll thaw out soon.
I think, what do you guys think? You think it's going to be a longer one? I'm preparing for a year or two, but I would prefer if it was shorter.
Yeah, me too. I think all of us would. But I also would prefer when it ramps back up to not hit us the way it hit us in 2017. Like, give us a little time to start building up momentum. And yeah.
Well, this is a great time to be building, right? I mean, you got to kind
of. It
of.
absolutely is.
Yeah, you cut out the fat and you get your stuff together during this time. So I don't know. People have been doing that, right?
I've been doing a lot of kind of reading about, other booms and busts in different tech spaces. And it's interesting because it's, that whole concept of history repeats itself. It does. So it's not like this is a new thing for tech. And also in those downtimes, typically that has been when you have your survivors and they build and they really work on the things they're trying to accomplish, and they come out stronger at the end if they make it out. So I think it is kind of an important part of evolution of anything new.
Speaking of evolution, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Josh.
No, I was just going to say it's a very similar thing. I'm seeing that all the sort of scammy, crappy projects that really had no substance have either been washed away in this crypto winter or have actually decided to nail down and make something real. And
exactly.
And be resourceful. So it's really good. Like you said, once this is over, the strong startups will be, standing.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So you just went on a little break, and there's been a lot of change over at Shapeshift. You're doing a big move. There's all this excitement going on, even through the winter. And I wanted to talk a little bit about that. First of all, congratulations. That sounds awesome. Tell us a little bit about what's been going on.
Oh my gosh. Well, I think that this is kind of a perfect example of being able to take time. I think what people didn't realize, 2017 and going into most of 2018 was a crazy time for these companies. I mean, I know that our customer support team, we beefed up. We had, we were hiring to kind of keep up with demand, and from engineering to marketing to customer support to general leadership. Like it was a constant hiring cycle because we needed all these people and we needed them now. It's interesting that I think everyone you talk to from all the other big companies, the one moment that you'd have to be able to breathe is when you talk to them and they said, "Oh, I know, right? Us too." And so you're like, okay, I'm not alone in this. And that was a big time of growth, but not healthy growth necessarily. You didn't have time to really take your products and your services and look at them and say, like, is this what people need? Is this what people want? We know they want it right now, but will it be wanted when things start to slow down? And then 2018, you had all the regulatory stuff going on, and it wasn't transparent. So no one really, there's still a lot of it that we still don't 100% know what we're navigating through. So for Shapeshift, we went through quite a few changes in 2018, and that was from a regulatory perspective. We had a whole host of products that we had been developing because at the moment they were needed, and there was a hole needing to be filled for things that people wanted. And we were trying to do that rapidly, as most startups do, just creating a lot of things to see what not necessarily don't want to say the word stick, because it was all important things that we thought the ecosystem needed. But also as it evolved, because everything evolves so incredibly quickly and continues to, what do we actually still need? Or is there a way for us to pull everything into one home so that it's easier to use? And that's kind of where Shapeshift is right now, is we are doing a full evolution on many levels. We actually decided last year that we wanted to evolve our brand. And I'm not talking all brand holistically, as in like the tone and our mission and vision and all that, though that was something that we worked on as well. But also the look and feel and who we decided we were going to start to cater to. So we launched a new logo mark earlier this year, as well as kind of an overarching brand, and really set in on like, what is our mission here as a company? What is our vision? And just so that not only our employees, but the people who use us can have a better sense of who we are. And then we also have been working on a new offering that pretty much is putting everything that you need as a consumer and user of crypto, platforms, trying to put it all in one space. And so we are going to be releasing this new platform, and it's going to help combine a lot of the different offerings we have. We have CoinCap, which is a market data website. We've had CoinCap since 2015, but it was kind of under the radar quite a bit because we're trying to figure out with a lot of other competitors out there how we wanted that to actually live in the world. So CoinCap being melded into this, exchange ability, our current offering, which is the one-to-one exchange. We acquired KeepKey back in 2017, and which is a hardware wallet provider. So how do we pull everything together? So that is kind of what we're doing, is pulling all these different services together into one streamlined service. So you're not having to use, however many different offerings people do to do the things they're trying to do on a daily basis with their crypto assets. So we were kind of doing some informal data research on Twitter and put out this tweet that was like, hey, like, how many different services do you use to do the things you do in crypto? And it was, I think we put one through 5, or tell us if you have something else. And most people said 5. I use 10, 15. And that's a major industry issue right there, because really there's so many wonderful use cases that are starting to be built. But the one that currently does live is the financial, the financial use case. So we really need to make that really good before everything else can have more room to thrive, from my perspective.
I totally agree. It's one of these points that when people talk to me, I think, look, if we can't get cryptocurrency working in Venezuela or places that have really intense crises at the moment, we're going to have a really hard time in places that don't have a crisis. And it'd be really good to see it actually adopted. And I feel the lack of adoption is because we're dealing with money here, a new type of money, which is very esoteric as well in terms of where it's issued and how it's issued. And but at the same time, I feel that it just takes time and good UX, good UI, good tool sets, trusted tool sets to step in that area, and hopefully that'll take off. But yeah, I feel those things are really needed.
Oh, they absolutely are. And I think, I've heard a few people, because UX, UI, it's been kind of the buzzword for 2019 already so far. And when people like tease about it, like, oh, we're just talking about that, I'm like, but this is real. This is a real, milestone that we are at as an industry. And I think those crypto winters, this is the time that we really need to evaluate how do we as an industry and each company individually decide we're going to survive this. And if and when things do pick up, and they will, what do we want to show for when we've said we've been building? And I think it really has to be a wider user adoption where there's research backing what we're doing, and there's data points to show that the customer needs it and who they are, and that we're actually solving problems, because we talk, all of us, because we all truly believe in it. People here in this industry, we talk a lot about the vision and as an industry, and the mission as an industry, and how wonderful this ecosystem is and how beautiful it can be in providing things to the world. But we have to still be able to show things that are doing that. And there are projects out there that are doing that, but we need more. We need more of that. So, and that's kind of too where Shapeshift also decided to do this docu-series that we released. That Tatiana was also one of our people that we featured on this. That was one of the things that to me became really important and became important just holistically to Shapeshift, that and this is an interesting space to be in, where you need to market your products, you need to tell the stories of your products, but also you kind of have to be advocates of our industry, all of us as a collective, so that it can continue to move through this demystification and really kind of misunderstanding of what can be accomplished through this technology.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was really cool to be a part of that series. And, what I really liked about it is it kind of tapped into something as an artist that I've always kind of observed about the space, and you were able to capture it so well, is there's so much, there are so many amazing stories. And I think that people get really bogged down with the tech stuff. So I just wanted to say that I really appreciated the opportunity to be a part of that. And it was really, really beautifully done. And it was, for some reason, not a lot of people are doing stuff like that, but not that you want people to copy you, but if that's what the most sincere form of flattery, It's great to see that kind of heart of the community being expressed by a company that has been a part of it, but not in like it's not like you guys are shilling yourself at all, but like you guys are a staple, and it showed a lot of respect for where everybody was coming from. And I just thought it was really awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And it's interesting because I have, being in charge of our marketing team, I also am a huge advocate for trying to bring new marketers into this industry. Like if I have anyone who's in marketing that's like, hey, I'm maybe interested in moving into the crypto space, I'll give them all the time I possibly can so that they can pick my brain on what it looks like to be in it. What are the pain points? What are the times that are really thrilling? We're actually hiring for a new marketing role right now. And everyone that I've talked to on the phone, I don't sugarcoat it, but I also want them to feel how incredibly impactful being part of this, especially on the marketing communication side, can be, because we have to learn to insert emotion into what we're doing and all the different stories. Because I quite honestly, I don't think I would have stayed in this industry if I hadn't gone down to, and I've told the story about a million times, but it was so impactful for me. When I first started with Shapeshift, I was kind of like, I don't really know what this is about, but it's a good new challenge for me. And then living in the United States and interacting with people in the crypto space in the United States, where it was very investor, money-making centric. I wasn't, everyone was saying how beautiful it was. And I hadn't quite understood the ins and outs of, the underlying technology and how the blockchain tech can allow a lot of different corrupt systems to be fair and equal. I didn't quite get that. And especially when you're talking about places like Venezuela or, and we look, the more you read about that, the more you can see that could be useful in that environment. I wasn't learning that stuff at that point. And I also didn't have a financial background. So I was learning a lot of different things during that time, but it was kind of I don't know, does this affect me as a white person living in the United States? I'm not really sure where my heart feels this. And then I went to Latin American Bitcoin conference that was in Mexico City in 2015. And as I was talking to people and getting to know all the people in that environment, it just it resonated so greatly to me from hearing other people's perspectives, how useful this technology can be for these different disenfranchised communities or, government entities that, for all intents and purposes don't function as well as the one that I've been used to. So I think, that storytelling side, and it's not just about what your company's accomplishing or the people. It's about finding that diverse network of other humans and from other backgrounds that, people could watch an episode of a show or listen to a podcast or be able to touch people from different backgrounds without having to travel to those places to understand that this touches more than just me directly. It's bigger than that. And that was one of the things that Eric and I had a lot of talks about this series as we were starting to develop it. And, why it could be important, not just for Shapeshift, but the whole ecosystem. And the humanization of what we're doing and what we're providing is so incredibly important to me. And I think to a lot of us when we really think about it.
Look, I wrote the Bitcoin jingle, and it's a jingle and stuff, but there's a lot of heart in this community, and it ended up being a song. You know what I mean? I was just thinking, oh wow, this is so cool. We gotta have a jingle. And then as I evolved in my own understanding of Bitcoin, it sort of came out in that way. So
yeah. Oh yeah. It's all that art and that creativity that's one thing. You go to those Ethereum conferences ETH Denver, which was just here in Denver, where I'm based a few weeks ago. You've got all these different DevCon. It's very this industry we live in is very techy, but there's this center of creativity, and it doesn't just flow within with you, Tatiana, as a musician, as more of a storyteller. Josh, for you as an entrepreneur and someone who's has this very visionary mindset. Even the technologists, they have to think so out of the box to know that this technology will be able to thrive and create something huge one day, and they're problem solving it. So it's every person in this ecosystem is creative and they have imagination. and drive to meet these huge imaginative things they're thinking about, in order to know that maybe 5-10 years from now, 15, 20, we don't really know how long this is going to take for it to evolve into something that, is globally understood and used. But you have to have imagination and creativity, and that can hit in traditional sense. So when you think about that word, art, music, all those things, but also outside of that, just having creative and innovative thoughts and being a pioneer, I think is it's an important word to really set on, to understand that we all are being creative right now and creating while we're in this space.
You know what? I wanted to ask a question. Sorry, Josh, but how has the reception been of the video series, by the way? Down the Rabbit Hole, if everybody's listening, they can go and check it out online right now or after the show. But how have people been? I mean, crypto people are obviously in love with it, but do you feel like you're able to reach other people because of that?
I do think we have. I've been having a lot of people reaching out to me on Twitter. I have my DMs open because I like to be able to have conversations with kind of either discovering me or Shapeshift or things we're doing. And it's been interesting also, as we're hiring this new marketing position, we know that it's probably going to be someone from outside of the crypto space. And almost every person I've talked to so far has asked me about it. They're like, because it is how they're finding emotion and partially how they're finding emotion and like maybe wanting to take a completely industry change for themselves. And so that's important. That helps bring in new talent, which maybe that's, us being in this building stage as an entire industry, maybe having new outside talent is most important too. So I've seen a lot of really good reception from that side, or people who were like, hey, I'd love to learn more about how you got into this and what can I do to learn more to get myself to the point where I feel comfortable pivoting. And then also I've had a lot of different larger media outlets reach out to me when we were actually working on the series and started teasing that this was going on. And then I went down to Latin American Bitcoin Conference in Chile, and I did a talk about brand storytelling and how you should do it as a company. And then we premiered the Down the Rabbit Hole trailer. I had it was pushed out to the interwebs. And then I had a few different publications, and I won't name them because I'm kind of talking to a few of these people about maybe doing some future things. But, some reaching out to us like, what part of production are you in? Are you in pre? Are you in post? And what is this looking like? And could there be a synergy involvement? And so it's interesting because I think that there's a lot of heart and movement within trying to humanize this and remove the negative aspects of the industry, because let's be real, that's been a big part of the narrative since day one. Day one, there's been so much negativity put towards blockchain tech and cryptocurrency. I mean, I remember when Eric offered me my job and I went to go do some research and I was like, oh God, what is this? What should I do this? Will I end up in jail? What is this what am I actually doing? And it really was, it was bigger than that though, but I had to research extensively for an entire week to dig underneath that mess. And granted, that's not the main message, but I think as companies, if we can really all, if you go on Medium, for instance, a lot of the posts that are all beautifully and wonderfully written and very important and impactful to the industry, but they're very technologically focused, or they're very focused on token mechanics and da-da-da-da-da. And we need all that again, but we also need a perspective that can be intake from a larger adoption standpoint. How do we demystify and remove the fear from what we're doing? And so, I've gotten a lot of feedback, and definitely within the industry. I had quite a few people DM me and were like, hey, a lot of us talking about the series. I've been very, shall I say, blessed to have the team I have. They're all really go-getter marketers, and none of, let's see, I think with the exception of one of them, they didn't have crypto background coming in. And they have just worked their tails off and have been able, I think, to really attach more emotion to their jobs through this effort. And just really seeing the community feedback. And to me, I kind of knew within this first round, especially with the crypto winter, this might be more community feedback, and just, you know, allowing the community to feel really empowered and like we are doing big things, because that actually, I couldn't have planned for this to have come out when it did. Like we didn't know this was going to happen clearly, but the crypto winter, but it almost is, for some people that have reached out to me, it's been a reminder of why they're here and what we're doing. And maybe that's its purpose for this point in time. And, you know, I have more plans for us doing additional seasons that I'm kind of playing around with right now, that hopefully we can hit a wider audience, have larger distribution. You know, because also we've been working with shoestring budget for this as far as distribution. You know, we don't have a lot of money to do advertising and things of that nature. But it is still something that, as we see that it's able to gain ground and importance, that we will continue to put focus into over time. But in general, the feedback has been wonderful. You know, from my perspective, and really touching to hear how it's affected people.
Yeah, the crypto winter is one of these things that has a good side and a bad side, and it just is what it is. Like you said before, I'd rather not do these massive spikes, but it just is what it is. And I don't know, I get a feeling like this time, you know, we saw it with the internet as well. We saw this huge spike and pop, and then slow, nice organic growth up. And I really hope that might be the case now, because now we have had, you know, 2017, late 2017, you could almost say that crypto was mainstream, and the amount of people that were talking about it, the amount of media press it was getting. And now the on-ramps are all sort of there. So I feel that once interest does start coming back, I'm really hoping for a little bit more of a nice, steady growth chart instead of some crazy paddling every day. More and more people are dealing with KYC issues in the whole space. And, you know, a lot of us original people that just loved crypto for what it is, you know, find it difficult to handle a lot of the KYC stuff. And I know that Eric was very passionate against KYC. We were one of the first companies to sign on to his initiative to bring more light to the issue of all these companies collecting private data like passports and things. And now Shapeshift have had to have KYC installed. Can you talk a little bit about that and the process of you guys and what you were thinking with that process and how you dealt with it?
Sure. Yeah. So that's it's a great question. And I think it's not just a Shapeshift issue, it's the whole industry wide.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think as as with most new nascent high tech industries, you're floating along for a while without anyone paying attention to you. They're all kind of like, oh, these crazy people over here doing this thing. And so you're getting to kind of like endlessly innovate and do things the way you exactly want to do them. And a lot of that, I think for people who aren't able to dig into every piece of reason why a company exists, there's a lot of ideology and a lot of belief systems and a lot of like, you know, very large understanding of why data collection can be incredibly dangerous. Now, I think mainstream, that's starting to come to light. You know, you have all of these high profile hacks, starting really with the Target hack. When was that? Back in 2012 or something?
Yeah, something like that.
And then you have Equifax, and you have, one thing after another. And, you know, that centralized data point is dangerous. And, you know, when I say that, meaning if there's one area where everything lives and a company is hacked, all that bit of data from whatever you're collecting, your social, your birthdays, all that kind of stuff is gone. So, and for a lot of those companies, it was their security really wasn't as up to snuff as it needed to be. It wasn't stored in the most efficient manner because, hey, that stuff wasn't happening. And then it was happening. And that's when you have a lot more understanding of how really intrusive that is for humans and just for your safety in general. So that is where a lot of the people that have, I think, come into the crypto space, especially early on, or shall I say blockchain tech space more, when you're talking about that layer, that's been very important. But then, ideologically too, being able to have the freedom to own yourself as a human and everything that involves that is very important. So that was, the founding of Shapeshift in the beginning. It was so important to Eric and everyone who's been involved. And that actually was something I had to really learn about, and was surrounded by people who really educated me a lot on that side of things, as it wasn't something that I had really that much awareness to before joining the industry. But as time has evolved, and as, Josh, you mentioned 2017 is when all of a sudden we're like, oh, this is mainstream. Like people are starting to recognize these terms, and they're not 100% understanding it, but you can get in your Uber and your Uber driver's like, oh my gosh, you work in crypto? And instead of like eyes glazing, wants to have a conversation with you about it. And so there's wins and losses in that. The win is, this is from a marketer's perspective, that's awesome. Like here we are, another push for the industry to be more mainstream and to be something people might want to research and get more involved in. And then we have more people in our workforce. Then we have more people using our products. There's a lot of like upsides to that. Now the downsides are, for the unknown part of your technology or product, you're going to have people, and a lot of times it's government entities, it's lawmakers that are saying, whoa, we knew you guys were over there doing stuff, but we just didn't really know what it was. And that's when they step in, and a lot of times they're just trying to understand what it is we're doing. And sometimes that can cause panic, and it can cause, misinformation to go out there. It can cause, for us as creators and companies, it was late 2017, early 2018, all of a sudden got like, okay, how do we abide by the laws? Because we can't even really tell what it is that we're being told we need to be abiding by. And so that, for us too, as a company, that we're non-custodial. So that meaning we don't hold your assets for you. We don't want to have custody of your assets in the case we were to ever get hacked. So that was an important part of our model. But also, we don't collect your data. We don't have your data on hand, because that's another thing that can be taken if a company's hacked. It's always been it was very, very important to us. But as we were navigating 2018, we really had to think, how do we de-risk the company without 100% understanding what legislation and legality is being placed, not just in the US, but really every country as it was navigating. So with Shapeshift, we for months really talked about it and researched it, and had a lot of law reviews done to kind of figure out what is going to be the best route for Shapeshift. We had a bunch of products out there. As I mentioned earlier, we had a bunch of different solutions that we were offering. But some of them, we didn't even really know how we could continue to offer them. And so we kind of got stagnant. We had to kind of sit there and go, okay, what do we want to work on, and how do we want to move forward? And so in order to really de-risk our company and to continue to innovate, we had to just go the route of KYC implementation. And we've done it. We continue to look into it and navigate it, and to make sure it's the least intrusive that it possibly can be. And we'll continue to do that over time. I think most companies that have offerings of that nature do. It was interesting though, like right after, everyone kept talking about all of the decentralized exchanges, all the DEXs popping up, and we have people constantly, oh, Shapeshift, this is a threat to you, and they don't have to worry about all the legality. And then all of a sudden, a lot of the DEXs were popping up, oh, we're implementing KYC as well. And so it is what I like to say, that as an industry that is new, that wants to continue to innovate and create and be part of the conversation and the voice for the entire ecosystem, we need to make sure that we are being compliant. And we have an amazing compliance team now too. Like there's a lot of things that we've actually been able to build up over the course of time, knowing this was something we were going to have to do. That's allowed us to be a much stronger company and to advocate and create a safer environment for our customers as well. So, there's, as I mentioned, we continue to look at that. That is something that is on high alert for us constantly, is how we continue to to do that, but also create a safe environment for our customer base. And we will always do that until the end of time.
Nice. Very, very nice. It's a really tricky road to go down. We noticed originally when we launched Vaultoro, because gold's a physical good, it's like buying a television or anything else. You don't need to go to your TV store and hand over ID and all sorts of stuff because you're buying a television. So gold is a very similar thing in the EU. You can buy up to $5,000 a day from the same store without having to pull your pants down and show everything. Mm-hmm. But eventually, through the massive run-up of 2017, we were selling so much gold. People were trading so much of it that because it's allocated gold, it's our users' legal property in their name. And we were securing people that didn't want to do KYC through their email. It just wasn't good enough. So we thought, well, look, let's implement full KYC at all stages, because our vaulting supplier also wanted the settlement records of that, which is totally fair enough.
Yeah.
And when we did it, the backlash wasn't that big from the community. They went, oh, okay, yeah, we understand why. And the fact that we've never been hacked and all this sort of thing. But still, I still think it's not a good trend. And I really feel that we as a society need to look at new mechanisms, because now with deep fakes and all this stuff coming, I mean, KYC is going to be harder and harder to do. And I think maybe we need to look at new solutions outside the box thinking.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I think that is in a world where that data collection technology had significantly changed to make it more secure. It's just not changing fast enough. But in that world, I think that people would be in a different mindset. Like if all of my data wasn't on one server, which is the major issue most companies have, then okay, like, and not even that, like, let's go beyond that. How are you encrypting it? How are you actually storing it? And how, if someone were to get into that system, what are they finding? And all those questions are very important. And in a world that we had people that were working on that day in and day out, and we could see that the technology there was changing, then I think everyone would feel a little bit better about it. I mean, I think we can all agree we don't want terrorist or like nefarious entities utilizing different services and making their lives easier. No one wants that. No one here wants that. So, they're having having some form of regulation to an extent is important, I think, but just making sure it's thoughtful and it's necessary is a big part of that. And I think, for Eric and a lot of our employees and a lot of our executives, this was a hard decision to make. And I think some people think, oh, that was just easy peasy for them. They just pulled the trigger and they don't really care. And that's not the case at all. I think we see both sides of the need. And, it's just making sure that we continue to try to figure out how we do it less and less intrusively over time will be part of the key. But, it's not, I think a lot of people too think, oh, we implemented KYC and then it's done. We are working on how that looks all day, every day. And, because at the end of the day, it is the people that are using our services that it's important to. But another layer I think about too is how, we all do talk about widespread adoption as well. And like when I talk to people who are maybe somewhat interested in investing, or like, I'll have my friends and people I know, all of us do this, I think, that are in the industry, have that person that you haven't talked to in like a decade that reaches out to you. And they don't care about that because it's like, they're like, yeah, so I have to give data. That's like what I do every day when I sign up for literally anything. At the minimum, I'm giving an email address and creating a username and password that I may or may not have done securely. I don't think our entire like global population has gotten to the point where they even understand the things that we worry about. Now, you have to have the people who do worry about it in order for there to be change, right? Like those of us out there that are like, this isn't good. We need to advocate for those people who don't know. They don't know any difference. But I still think that there are some people, like, for instance, my mom, when I got this job, I reference her all the time when I'm talking to people, because she she has her Coinbase account. She's got like her crypto that she buys, and she talks to me about research she's doing. And this is a woman who's in her, mid 60s. And every time I'd ask her how she used Shapeshift, she'd be like, I need to create an account, Emily. Like, I don't even know what I'm doing there. I can't tell when I send stuff to you if it's going anywhere or what's going on. I feel like I can't check my status because our user experience was a little like disjointed there for people like my mother. And, I guess you'd have to define that my mother's particular demographic makeup is like your customer in order to cater to that. But I do feel like a lot of people like having an account. They like having somewhere they can look at all their data history, and especially during tax time, keeping up with what they did throughout the year and being able to interface with the company in a more direct manner, I think is important too. So, there's pros and cons to both sides of that. And you kind of have to just continue to evaluate, on that Venn diagram of good, bad, and, where do you want to live as a company?
This has been great, guys. Anything that we should cover? I feel like we've been going for a while, and I feel like, I don't know, this has been a really meaty episode and a lot of really great insight, Emily. But is there anything that you wanted to talk about that we haven't gotten a chance to?
No, I mean, I guess I think I've been in this very reflective mood of thanking the people that I've met over the course of time that have just been great advocates for me in my learning. And you two definitely, you were two of the first people I ever met when I started in this space. And thank you for having me on. And also thank you for both educating me over time at various oddities that this industry covers. I appreciate it.
Oh, thanks, Emily. I mean, I don't feel like I did that much. You were surrounded by some of the best there at Shapeshift. So I'm sure it was a fun experience to dive deep in the deep end of the pool.
Oh, yes. Every day. Always in the deep end.
Any kind of links that you wanted to share with everybody? I mean, everybody knows Shapeshift.
For people who want to get into our closed beta, you can actually do that through the website. We have a shapeshift.io/where-crypto-lives. That's what gets you into our closed beta list. And then once we open up, you'll be the first ones to get in there. We also have an email list that will keep people in the loop. If you want to check out Down the Rabbit Hole, shapeshift.io/down the rabbit hole, you can check out all the episodes. And then on April 16th, we are going to be doing a private screening here in Denver, but we'll be doing a live Q&A with Eric Voorhees, our CEO at Shapeshift, as well as Zuko Wilcox from Electric Coin Company, or Zcash, as it's formerly known. And so please tune in there. You can actually submit questions through a Slido link, so you can be a little bit more involved. But we'll be live streaming that on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter that night.
Awesome. That sounds really good.
Yeah.
That sounds like a must-see, they used to say must-see TV, must-see internet.
Yeah, must-see internet, yes.
Awesome.
Fantastic. And I'm really looking forward to seeing the Down the Rabbit Hole series.
Thanks, Josh. I'm excited to hear what you think about it.
Yeah, fully. Thanks for adding so much value to the crypto space as a whole, guys. You guys down there, Emily, you especially, because you're the head of the marketing team, so you're being the arm of that. And I think it's really good that companies don't only just invest in themselves, but understand that investing in the wider crypto community, teaching people is also adding so much value.
Well, thank you so much, Josh. I appreciate that.
Great job, everybody. I love you all. Thank you to our sponsor, Token Talks. Go to wing.vc/podcast. Take a listen over there. Please also take a listen to Proof of Love. Emily, we should have you on that sometime soon.
I would love that.
Yeah, if you can go to proofoflovecast.com, catch up on all the episodes. It's a show I've been doing with Stephanie Murphy from Let's Talk Bitcoin and a bunch of other things, of course. And one of my best friends, Lauren Kasovitz, and we've had a lot of guests, but I know you'd be an awesome one. So I'd love to talk a little bit more and about, matters of the heart. Thanks everyone for listening, and thanks for coming on. We'll see you all next time. Josh, any final words to our audience?
Just I love you all. Follow us on Twitter @Voltoro.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you soon. Hey there, it's time for the show. The Tatiana Show, where you make friends and talk life and crypto. We gotta think and reflect and use lots of intellect with our hearts when we work together. I know that it can be so hard out there, looking all around and saying that life ain't fair. So that is why we will fight and stay up late at night, listening to the Tatiana Show. Thank you for listening to The Tatiana Show. Please follow us on Twitter at Queen Tatiana or on Facebook and Instagram at Tatiana Moroz Music. More episodes can be found at thetatianashow.com, and make sure you leave a review on iTunes and tell your friends. The Tatiana Show has been brought to you by CryptoMediaHub.com, a boutique marketing and PR agency for Bitcoin and beyond.